I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, and I'm located in Southgate, Kentucky.
And I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery in Monroe, Washington. And welcome to Wheel Talk.
Hey folks, thanks for listening to Wheel Talk. We would love some more interaction with you all throughout this future episodes, and we would love to hear some listener questions. They may get on the episode.
Yeah, just submit them to wheeltalkpodcast@gmail.com, or you can submit them on our Instagram at wheeltalkpodcast. Thanks.
Now.
Okay. All right. We've started. We're live.
We're live. Hi, Ryan.
Hi, you just woke up for this, huh?
I did. I woke up for you guys. I was taking a nap.
It's 4 p.m. West Coast time. It's 7 p.m. East Coast, so...
Get off my back, Ryan.
That's all right. You had, like, multiple days this weekend or something where you didn't even sleep.
That's
you slept,
true. That's true. And it's been, rough this week. I haven't been working extra hard by any means, but the emotional and, having to make all the take-home kits and all that stuff's been tough.
Have you even had anybody in there helping you prepare those, or
No.
Can you not
I've been doing it. My helper came in on Saturday, but we cleaned windows and did some spring cleaning. So, anyway,
Nice.
how are you doing today?
Today's pretty good. Started off the week pretty productive at work today. I had a really busy and productive day yesterday, which you wrote me on Instagram or something. It was like, why are you being so productive or something like that?
Stop it. Just stop.
So I made myself a list on Saturday night so that when I got in the studio Sunday, I was ready to go. And I got 7 things done off a list. 75 pieces thrown. I got a bunch of glazing done, a kiln loaded, kiln fired today. So
Wow.
Feeling pretty good.
I didn't do anything yesterday. I did jack shit compared to you.
Well, do you generally take weekends off, sort of?
Kinda. I try.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. This whole, coronavirus shenanigans are screwing everything up, so who even knows what's happening?
So how's your day today? You had a good little nap, so...
Yeah, I had to
you ready to
drive down and
recharge?
get clay. And
Are they still doing pickup orders at your clay supplier? They're just closed for retail and stuff like that?
Yeah, so the storefront's closed, and then I called and was like, I'm here. And then they came out and gave me the clay. Never touched anybody, There was no, human contact of any sort, so that was good. It was so hard, though, because I was like, man, clay's really far away from me, and so on my way back, I was like, I want to go to Trader Joe's. No, I can't do that. I want to go to this. No, I can't do that. I'm like, go home, Becca. Just go home.
Our clay supply stores here, at least in Ohio, they just closed as of 12 p.m. today. So they can't even, they were like, any pickup orders you have were going to be closed until April 6th, I think. So for 2 weeks.
I should have gotten more clay. I only got 500 pounds, but I can recycle a lot, so... but yeah, that's why I did this now, because I was like, if I don't get it on Monday, I'm screwed.
Yeah. So. A lot of these announcements, they tell you what's coming, and it starts 24 hours from when they announce it, or 12 hours from when they announce it. So they're like, all right, we're going to close up shop for these different things.
I know. Yeah. And I was going to go on Saturday because I was like, oh no, what if they announce that it's going to be closed on Sunday? And they had already cut their hours down to no Saturday, so I was like, well, God willing, I'll be able to get there on Monday, so.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, wait. And that's pretty much all I did today. That's really it. I, came back,
did your typical Monday of clay run and...
Yeah, I supported somebody locally for food, got takeout, and then came here and took a nap. I also am applying for one of the business loans. They've got super cheap loans right now for business. So
is that in your state?
No, it's nationally.
That's a federal
Everybody
thing?
apply for it.
Okay.
And the deadlines for the COVID-19 assistance loans are, I think, in December. So if you're
I
struggling...
did see that they extended the income tax day,
Yeah.
which is good, by like 3 months or something like
Yeah,
that.
you
And then
still have to report it, but you don't have to pay it. I'm going to try and pay everything online.
nice.
Yeah. Try to get my rent in as soon as possible. And, but yeah, my bookkeeper sent me an invoice and discounted everything. And I was like, you don't have to do that. And she's like, shut up. I'm doing it.
Shut up. Take it.
So she's like, you're my smallest client, and I want to make sure that you're okay. I was like, thank you. So, anyway, let's do listener questions. Ryan?
Yeah. So I'm going to start off. Mine is from at McGinnis Pottery, McGinnis Pottery on Instagram. How do you get the opening the correct size for an olive oil bottle or soap pump? So those are the things I make a lot. As of last spring, they sold really well. So what I do, I did the math based on the shrinkage rate of my clay, which is about 11%, I think. 10 and some change maybe. And I did the math, what I need it at a dry stage, and then added 11% to that at what I need at wet stage. So it's about 1 inch is the opening, the inner diameter of that opening. And I use a wooden brush, like a wooden 1 inch brush that has a handle on it. So where the handle meets the bristles, it's 1 inches, and that's standard. It's across the board. I don't have to look at a ruler and see, is it about where that line meets that line and stuff like that. Right. So I just use one thing that's always the same all the time. And I would say that's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
Over time, I just know what it is, so I don't have to put that every single time up to the bottle, opening. But yeah.
If you have a shrink ruler, you can measure like if you get one of the oil opener bottle things, the plastic ones, you can measure that and see what it would be at 12%, and then just match it on your a regular ruler, and then move it to a shrink ruler too. But you can also do the math. I don't do math.
Yeah, so that's what I use. I would say those nozzles are pretty standard. They're probably all about 3/4 of an inch across or so.
Oh, here, I have a question, because I put one into one of my bottles, and it came out because it was not the right size or whatever. How does it have to be straight up and down, or does it have to be angled in or angled out?
Yes, I would say your best bet is a longer straight opening that's parallel. If it is more of a V shape and more open at the top and narrower down the neck, it's more likely to kind of suck itself out because the rubber doesn't attach to something, so it starts to slide out and it doesn't stay in.
And you glaze the inside of that?
Yeah, I glaze the whole thing.
Okay.
I think you mentioned maybe try not glazing the internal top. I guess you could do that. I just haven't put wax in there and done it. I just glaze it or put stuff in there and wipe it out. So I just wax it all, or I just glaze it all. And
yeah, I made one a week ago. Well, not really. I haven't thrown in a week. I made one a couple weeks ago, and I textured the inside, so I was gonna see if that worked.
Yeah, and I would say if you don't do it straight up and down, you can also do it more where coned. The top is narrow. Like a volcano. Narrower than your,
Since nobody can see your hands like a volcano.
Yeah. So it's going to be narrower at the top and then wider at the bottom. That just gives you less of a contact point for that rubber stopper to, kind of work with. So the longer that nozzle, that kind of neck is, the more area that rubber has to make contact with it.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's my question. What's your question today?
Okay.
That should be good.
We're gonna do my question, but we're also kind of gonna go right into what we're talking about today from my question, because it kind of matches. So, before I do my question, what are we talking about today, Ryan?
So we're talking about cheap alternatives for studio equipment.
Yes. Okay.
And this is very timely, I think, for people that are kind of
Yeah.
figuring out what they have at home and making do with what they got.
And when Ryan was like, "What do you want to talk about today?" I was like, "Anything that's fun. I don't
Anything
care."
that's not depressing.
Yeah, I was like, anything that's not depressing. And so this is what we chose. So, okay, so my question is from at Tam Makes Things. TAM
Makes things.
TAM makes things. Okay, as a beginner potter, working out of my one-bedroom apartment closet, did I hear correctly that Becca started in a one-bedroom apartment? If so, how the heck? That is correct. My apartment was actually pretty decently sized. But yes, I started in a one-bedroom apartment. It was up one flight of stairs. I remember taking my wheel upstairs and not hitting any of the walls and feeling so proud of myself.
Oh, that's nice.
So I had kind of like, it was like a one-bedroom apartment with a living room, so it wasn't a studio apartment. And so I think at first I set up in this there was like a little drop-down bedroom, and I set up there. And then after a while, I think it just ended up me throwing right next to my bed. It was like 4 feet away from my bed. And I think this is also why I'm pretty okay at not making a mess, because I didn't really have the luxury. I put down plastic, of course, like, from the, like, 5 mil plastic. And I didn't have bats. At one point, I made my own set of bats, and they were one-sided masonite, and so they had the like that weird texture on the back, and I ended up painting it with an all-surface enamel so they wouldn't warp. But before that,
What's the single-sided mason? Is that what's considered single-sided, double-sided? Is it the smooth part is considered the side? Okay.
Mm-hmm. So
and then what's on the other side?
part,
It just kind of flakes and absorbs water.
yeah,
and stuff?
it's like this weird rough texture that's like
like an MDF.
Kinda, but not really. Like it absorbs water. MDF doesn't absorb as well as that, but it's kind of like plywood on the back. It's just like unfinished plywood on the back, or like not plywood, OSB.
OSB, okay.
On the back. And so I would, like I had a table, and I used to put all the stuff on a table, and then at one point, like this was when I was doing the Starbucks order, and I was making,
wow.
I made like 300 pieces for Starbucks, and
I was thinking that was when you had your basement studio, but that was even before that. Wow.
Yeah. I moved right at the end of that order to my house. And I had these vases that were smooth-sided, and then I had to put slip on them because they like drippy slipped down. And so what I would do is I bought a bunch of paper plates, and I would definitely recommend Dixie if you're going to do this. Don't get the cheap kind. Don't be like Becca and get the cheap kind. So I had to, I knew that like moving these pieces was going to be a total pain in the butt. And so I cut off the vases, and then I transferred them to a paper plate, and then I transferred the paper plate back to my wheel, tap centered it, and then did the slip all the way down the side, and so then I could move the piece without touching it with the slip on it.
Oh, and so you kind of made a bat that was not one of your like nice bats,
right? Yeah, and then it was just primarily for transferring things, but there's a few things that I learned while being in a studio in your house, right next to your bed. One, don't ever get clay in your dishwasher because it just transfers to all your other dishes.
Oh no.
It like, I think there was like one item that I used for clay or something, and then I just threw it in the dishwasher and I didn't even think about it. And then when I opened up the dishwasher, like all of my pieces, like all of my dishes had clay on it. I was
Like clay streaks and stuff?
yeah, yeah.
Ooh.
So I learned that. I also had a cat at that time, I think, but I don't know. I don't really know how you do it in a one-bedroom apartment, but you just do it. And you know what? I will say this, and I've always said this. Having a smaller studio teaches you how to practice and how to be efficient. And sometimes when I'm, actually pretty much all the time when I'm in my studio, I'm like, damn, I wish this was smaller. Because having 3,000 square feet is all great and dandy until you have to clean it. But
Yeah. Ooh.
what's that?
Little doorknob action. Little doorbell ringing action.
Somebody's at your house?
I guess. I don't know. Should I go check? I don't.
Are you here? Are you the only one?
Yeah. Yeah. Rachel's
Well,
gone.
go talk to them. I'll tell them about my house. And so then I wasn't going to say anything else, but yeah. So I think it's just like keeping clean as much as you can around the areas that you can. Always put down a drop cloth. Definitely clean your wheel every single day. You have to keep separate spaces, though. That's important. If you start like setting things on your wheel or whatever. Who was it? He doesn't have his earphones on. If you start setting things everywhere, then everything's gonna get messy. Who was it?
It was Amazon. Since when does Amazon ring doorbells? I thought
If it's the Amazon drop-off guy, he will ring the doorbell to make sure that nobody steals your package.
Oh, okay.
He
It
can't-
was Amazon Prime vehicle guy.
Yeah. He can't wait there for more than like 5 seconds, but he does ring the doorbell usually.
Did not know that.
Yeah. So yeah, that was mostly my story about that was my cheap solution to bats is paper plates, and they worked. And also, I don't see why like plastic plates couldn't work as bats. Really.
Yeah.
Like
The only thing is like sticking them down onto it, I guess.
just use clay. I don't see why you couldn't. Like they have those cheap plates at Fred Meyer's or King Soopers that are like the summertime plastic plate sets.
Mm-hmm.
Those would be perfect for bats because they're flat on the bottom. They don't rise up very high. You could even turn them upside down.
Did you have to cut off the lip so it doesn't like sit up?
I would turn it upside down, I think.
Okay. So if your wheel is
Just
the
put
right size and stuff, you can.
I would just put like a thicker piece of clay so they just stick to it and then just turn them upside down and throw on that. If you really were desperate, that's what I would do. But yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so we're gonna move into like what we have made.
So, yeah, what's your newest bat system that is not paper plates?
Oh yeah.
Is still a cheap alternative to spending $4 to $5 for a bat.
Yeah. So, okay. My bat system consists of two parts. It's a plastic round bat. The plastic bats, the one that are like wicked expensive. One of those, and you cut out a 7x7 square hole in it so you can see through it. And that is cut, and then there's inserts that go into it that are double-sided masonite. You have to special order them. Go to a specialty hardware store or go to a hardware store that's nice or smaller owned, and they can order it for you. You need double-sided hardboard, masonite hardboard 1/4 inch. And you can take those and then just cut them down to size. We just put them through a table saw, I think. But ideally, you want them to be all the exact size and then measure them exactly and then cut out your circular bat so that it's perfect. we CNC'd the circular bat, and it worked, kind of. It's not a perfect system for me, but
You're using the same one that you've had since the beginning, right?
I broke that one.
You did?
So one of my pastors made me a really shoddy one, and it was out of a regular masonite bat, and then I finally cracked it. That's why they break really easily because they're weak in the corners. So that's why you have to do plastic. But
Yeah. Okay.
So
So your first one was masonite.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
And then my first one was masonite, and then the second one, my friend's dad made a little jig, and he cut out a template and stuff, and it works really well. I wish I had more holes to
lever it out.
Yeah, I only have one leverage hole, and that's I would probably put one at every point. It is kind of annoying to clean those, but
yeah, you even brought that with you to ClayCon West when you were demoing and stuff, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a pretty good system. How many bats do you have?
Couple hundred.
Couple hundred. Okay, so cost-wise into this system,
the cost of the sheet of plywood is $30.
or double-sided masonite?
Yeah.
$30.
$30 for an 8 by 4, and that gets, I think, 70 out of it, and I have another sheet that I need to cut up, but
Dang, that's pretty good.
so that gets 70 out of it, and then I've done 3 to 4 sheets, I think, so. And the students have their own set, and then I have mine. We need to make more of the round ones out of plastic, but yeah.
Yeah. So
think if you
invested,
had a
you're probably
laser-
like $75 invested into this, plus whatever time or effort you've paid somebody to cut stuff. Maybe.
Yeah. So they cost a fair amount of money. Because I paid somebody to do it because I don't want to do it. So if I did it myself, it would be just the material. But I paid somebody, I think, $150 to do it, maybe 200.
Okay.
So worth every penny. But yeah. And
But you're still at $2 a bat, maybe, and you can scale
it's
it.
$150, but yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the people that I used to do pottery with, they always did the bat. They did 8-inch bats and then put holes in the corners for the bat pins, and I just could never drill the hole right. So I just was like, nah, we're not doing that. That's why I figured that out.
Nice.
The first bat I ever had was just a regular bat, and then it had square pieces on it that held in the bat. So it was kind of like a Dirty Girls bat where it had the square insert, but I just glued it to the top of the bat, and it eventually broke.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so that's a different way to save money than paying $4 and $5 a bat, or those plastic bats are $8 a bat or $10 a bat or something like that.
Yeah, and you can always, if you don't want to make your own, you can always use tiles. We were talking about that in the at the dinner that we went to. You can always find some bisque tiles and throw on bisque tiles, or when I started throwing, I threw on plaster bats. Plaster bats are cheap. And you can make a ton.
So you just have one master, and then you just pour a bunch of plaster, and
just pour it into a bottom of a bucket, like a 1-gallon bucket.
Oh, okay.
Because it's
and then you
round.
just put it and stick it on top of clay.
No, you don't even need to stick it on top of clay. You just stick it right onto the bat pin and put some water down. It'll seal itself right up.
Oh, okay.
So with the plaster bat, if it's smooth on the bottom, which it should be, you want to make sure it's on a level surface when you pour it. Once you put it onto the wheel, you just put some water down, and it sucks up the water, and then it sucks itself up to the wheel head.
Oh.
Yeah.
I kind of get what you're saying. Is the plaster still wet, though, when you're doing that? When you're just making a template of it? No.
No, the template is just a bucket. It's just a 1-gallon bucket.
But the bottom's not going to be flat if you throw it in a 1-gallon bucket.
Yeah, it is.
Because some of those buckets have little discs in the bottom or little things that are not flat.
Not the
I feel like if anything's
inside?
going to be flat, it's going to be the top. Yeah, on the inside.
No.
Not all buckets are flat on the inside.
Well,
At the
who
bottom.
cares? I mean, it's just you're throwing on it. It's not like it needs to be perfect. So find something that's freaking flat. Find something that's flat and then pour it in there. And you pour them in, and they need to be like 3/4 inches thick.
Yeah.
Don't
I've never
make them
done one
too
of those,
thick.
but yeah, I've seen some around.
And what's great about those is that they really do just pop off when they're leather hard. It's like perfect. The plaster
Nice.
just releases them. Those are great for doing plates on.
Yeah. What else? I put on here foam trimming pad. If you haven't like made your own, you can make your own out of something cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Some foam around, whether it's like I have an old mattress topper that I made one out of. There's all kinds of like foam you can just stick to a bat and
You can buy the foam. You can buy foam from on Amazon. You can get, what is it, the upholstery foam, and it's pretty cheap. And usually it's like 2 inches, and then you can just cut it right in half. Just make sure that you're gluing the uneven side to the bat, not the smooth side. Don't be like Becca.
Because those trimming pads are probably 20 or something bucks.
Yeah, they're like 15
25
or 20 bucks.
Yeah.
Bucks.
If
They're
you buy
expensive.
one. And they're probably not already on a bat. If you get them on a bat.
Yeah.
probably more
Mine
than
were
that.
all on bats when I bought them.
Oh, okay.
I have like 4.
Yeah. Some other stuff if you're using like sanding pads or anything to smooth out bumps or anything on the bottom of your pots, or those like grinding discs. Those are pretty expensive from Diamond Core Tools. That's a pretty popular one. I actually have a disc and like 3 pads, 2 pads that I bought from them at Insika last year. The pads are like $30 to $35 a piece.
Yeah, you can find them for $15 on Amazon.
And then the disc, the 8-inch disc that I got was like $50 or something like that. So there's some options on Amazon, like Becca said. You can get those like multicolor pad sets. Just look up like diamond sanding.
Yeah, so, okay. I'm on it right now, actually, so I can tell you. Okay, they're called KGS Pro Pad Diamond Hand Polishing Pads. And I've always stuck with 60 grit. A lot of people do the more intense grits, but
Depends on what clay you have, as well as like what kind of stuff you're working with. Are you working with sanding all your pots, or are you just using it for like grinding of glaze strips, or it varies. Or if your clay has a bunch of grog in it or whatever.
Right. Be advised, be aware. So I have never sanded wet, but now I'm going to start because I guess it works better. But so they have these it's called Stadia, Stadea. They're diamond hand polishing pads, and they're flexible for concrete, glass, marble, stone polishing. And you have to use them when they're wet. Those are the ones that Tim C uses, and they're pretty okay. They the ones that I tend to go for, though, these ones are these plastic, and then they have diamond bits in them. What you want to look for is an actual sanding pad that doesn't have the plastic. You can see the diamonds, like, if I just looked up diamond sponge, and the first one that popped up was the one that I would buy. And you can get
because there's a more dense amount of diamonds in it, so it's gonna grind better.
Well, yeah, and the plastic ones, the one with the plastic and the diamonds in it, if you don't use them wet, they leave like the color of the plastic onto it. So these ones are KGS Pro Pads. Those ones are the ones that I would recommend. And you can get a pack of 3, 60, 200, and 400 grit for $32. Like, that's nothing. You can get a 7-pack, too. All
Yeah,
the you can get all the grades.
yeah, it might be worth trying out some sanding pads to get an idea of like how to use them properly, and
Yeah.
if you're willing to put in the effort to sand a bunch of pots, because maybe you're not ready to, maybe you're not sanding all 200 pots you make in this month or whatever. Maybe you're just looking to sand down some little things here and there, or try out what sanded bottoms feel like and really smooth bottoms.
Yeah.
If you're going for higher quality and people that like specialize in getting a glossy finish, maybe the diamond core in those could be better and could be worth it. There are a lot of people that do buy those and use those now, so you kind of know what you're going to get because a lot of people use them.
Yeah.
But that's something to kind of balance and figure out what's worth it to you.
Also, I would say if you're just looking for if your bottoms just are a tiny bit rough, you can get away with a regular sanding pad, like from Harbor Freight.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're just sanding the bottom,
what is that, like a sanding block?
Yeah, just a sanding sponge from Harbor Freight. It's probably like a 60 grit or a 50 grit or a 30 grit. You can get away with that if you're really pressed for money, and if you just need to kind of like make sure it's tiny bit smooth on the bottom.
Do you use that? You use that at a finish stage, and
After it's done.
do you do it wet, or do you
I've never
do
done
it
it
by hand?
I've never
or
done
do
it
you
wet, but I don't know if there's any dust that comes off of a completely finished piece. So you might want to like look into that. But
There would be though. That's what you're sanding down.
I guess, but like, I don't know. I've always done it outside when I'm at a show. So it's like, I've never had the dust, but I don't know.
I would say generally there's going to be
those.
dust created whenever you're sanding anything. So
Yeah.
wet is always going to be better for your longevity, and probably cleaning it up is probably going to be easier too if it's wet, because it's just going to go into your splash pan or whatever.
This is like something new for me. I've never sanded wet ever, and so this is like a new thing. Because when I sand it, I'm like, and that's it. Like I'm not sanding it for more than 4 seconds, and so.
But you could get away with just dunking the bottom of your pot in water and then sanding.
Yeah, do that.
And then setting it aside. You don't have to or just dip the sponge or the pad in water and then just sand it. You don't have to drip water and continuously have water on it and stuff like that.
If you use a regular sanding sponge, like that's not a diamond one, just make sure you get one that can get wet. That's basically it. But I mean, honestly, at that point, it's almost cheaper to just buy the diamond one because it'll last you longer.
Mm-hmm. And I've used some of the diamond grinding, the hole cutters. Mm-hmm. You definitely need to use those wet, because I've ground down 2 of them and they do not last. You have to, any of those diamond things, using them wet is going to save you money in the long run, and it's going to give you a better quality.
Yeah. For the diamond disc, the disc that you put on a bat, you have to do that wet.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, this is a moment of Becca being an idiot, and just don't do what I say.
I'm just thinking back to our discussions about sanding dry for years.
Oh my god, years.
And then you're like, "Wait, I've never done them wet." What? Well, yeah, that's the problem.
Victoria from Tried and True, and she was like, she posted a video, and I was like, "You do it wet?" Hey. I also just found, so we were talking about the diamond disc that you put on a bat. I just found one on Amazon. It's a 60 grit, 8-inch outside diameter jewelry polishing tool, diamond coated flat lap disc grinding polishing wheel. What a name.
They're trying to hit all those SEO top.
Yeah.
titles.
And guess how much it is? It's $16.88. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't support Diamond Core. You should support Diamond Core. But the fact of the matter is that we have to pay our bills. And if you can find 100 grit sanding discs for $16 and
if
make
it's
it
worth
work,
the $16 for you and you get longevity out of it and you treat it well,
yeah, like if you were
it
never
could
gonna buy
give
a
you
diamond,
$16 worth of value.
yeah, if you were never gonna buy one from Diamond Core, or you would buy one for $15, get the $15 one. These look like they have holes in them, so it might be interesting. You'd have to put an adhesive on the back and then put it onto a bat.
Yeah, those sound like the ones that you would put on like a angle grinder or something like that are like flat. Because a lot of the polishing discs that you'll see are like that, where they like Velcro onto a spinning wheel.
Yeah.
Not really like a pottery wheel, so they might not be completely flat. But
I was just thinking about if I had like a bunch of these and I put them on bats, I'd probably like put like 6 wheels in a row and and turn them on and just like go from wheel to wheel with them to save time. That's how I do it. Did that make sense?
yeah, but why wouldn't you just have a board with 30 pieces, do all 30 pieces on that board, put it on the board, and then switch your bat, and then do those 30 pieces again for the next grit? Because you're
it
just
sounds
wasting
funner
energy
this way.
getting up and walking around. And
No, you're not wasting energy ever walking. You're exercising your body.
maybe, I guess, but
No,
it's
but you
talking
could-
efficiency here.
It'd be funner that way.
All right.
Moving on.
What else we got on here?
Oh yeah, hey, you should this is our next one. You should follow Ryan Reich on YouTube and on Instagram because he makes a ton of handmade tools. And he's a good one to follow.
Yeah, so he was doing some demos and stuff. I think he's got one coming up here soon that he's going to share about making some like wire cutting tools and like needle tools and trimming tools and stuff like that. I'm interested in using the bamboo and stuff for like a wire cutting tool because I would like to use a different type of wire or string or something.
You can use guitar straps for wires.
Okay. Actually, I do have a couple of guitar strings that somebody gave me.
Like the really thin ones, those are super good.
Uh-huh. Because I actually just had a wire that got broken yesterday. One of those where I cut my things off and I go across the wire to get the clay off of it.
Yeah.
And it already like broke, so it kind of like splintered my finger.
Ow. Ugh.
And I was like, no. So it's those little bitty kinks in the wire from always like having the really long like 16-inch wires that you got to wrap around your hand to get a narrow cut on like a 4-inch bottom.
I have never, in my personal wire collection, I have never had a kink in a wire. It baffles
You always
me.
use a small wire, I
No,
think, right? You use like a
incorrect.
7-inch?
Incorrect. It baffles me. Like, I'm talking in my 10 years of doing pottery, I've never had a kink in a wire. And it baffles me how people kink their wires so easily. And it's
I don't know if mine's a kink, though. Maybe it's just from wrapping it over the wood.
maybe.
Because I
I've
wrap it
never
around
had
my
an
hand
issue.
over the wood.
Yeah.
Because I got to get it to like a 6-inch wide span with
Yeah.
my thumbs down. How do you do that with a 14-inch wire?
Right, no, you have to wrap it around like dental floss. You have to. I'm just saying that, like, all of my students, everybody that I've ever met, always has kinks in their wires. And I'm like, how do you guys do this? I can't even do that. Like, I would throw the wire away because it just drives me absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Rebecca Graves found out my pet peeve about wires.
I need to like take those long ones and just like cut them in half and then put bamboo on the end of each of those like 7-inch sections, and that would be perfect.
I wonder if you could wrap it around the handle and then just tie it off.
Maybe. I don't know. You still get kind of like sharp parts where you tie it off
Yeah.
because it's like right where your hand goes into it. So
Well, also, Ryan, you could buy one of the Dirty Girls 6-inch ones. Those are freaking bomb.
I could.
They're great. Okay. So yeah, Ryan Reich, that's RyanReich. He makes a lot of tools and it's pretty cool. what he does. Also, Tim C Ceramics, he has some videos of making like sponge on a stick.
Yep.
And it's super
That's
cheap.
SEE.
SEE.
Yeah.
Ooh, yay, the next one's fun. The dollar store.
Yes.
Let's talk
The
about
dollar store or things that you just have. Like, I use yogurt containers because I get those, like, 16-ounce cups of yogurt.
Mm-hmm.
And I use those constantly in the studio.
Tons of people always use those sorbet containers. The ones that screw on.
Ooh, yeah.
Those
I have
are
two
really
of those for my slip, and those are perfect.
Yeah, those are really good. So, do you use this too? The toilet brush for the glazes?
I have a couple. I actually used one last night when I was glazing, and
Okay.
I like it. We use it at Baker Hunt. We have like 6 toilet brushes or whatever, and
From the
pretty
dollar
good.
store, you can buy toilet brushes, and using those in glazes to mix up the glazes is really quite wonderful because the glaze just doesn't stick to it as well. I've always done wood, like some sort of a wood paddle, and it always splinters somehow. So
the brushes just get the particles like
Mhm.
moving around, and you can get. I always try to get that kind of tornado effect in the glaze, and then that kind of like draws the materials up from the bottom, and then
Yeah.
brings it up, and kind of get that movement, and then
they
they're
float.
easy to.
And
They float. Oh yeah.
So if you put
Yeah.
them in like something to clean, you can just leave them in there. That's what's nice too.
And I mean, you can get your glaze mixed up just as well with a toilet brush than you can with a drill with
You
one of the
can.
mixers on it. And those mixer things are not, honestly, I don't think they're the cheapest. They're like $10 a mixer. So I'm like,
Mhm. Yeah.
And then, cleaning those off is not always super easy, but,
Right.
but yeah, those are pretty good. If you need like spatulas or something like that to, wipe out a glaze bucket or empty a glaze into something, or
Ooh, we use
Go ahead.
the dollar store has the dough cutters, and that's what I use. And they also have a ruler on the end, which is really nice. So the dough cutters, I use those.
Is that like cookie cutters?
No, they're like like this. They're metal, and then they have a round thing, and so you can use it to like scrape up dough off the table.
Oh, I kind of know what you're talking about.
And so I use it to scrape down the tables too if they've got stuff on them, but I use them because I use bats, right, and I always cut off the bat and then just leave the piece on there. So inevitably there's like a flat piece of clay that stays on the bat, and I use the dough cutter to scrape it off into a bucket of water
Yeah.
so I can clean them.
I usually use my yellow mud tools rib to do that, but
Right, if you use a dough thing though, you would have something to hold on to. And when you're scraping off 100 bats, it's a kind of annoying.
yeah.
And
it's probably
always,
wider than a rib.
Yeah, and I always hate that like when you do it with the mud tools, inevitably it kind of gets like wet or something, like your hand gets wet, and then you like, I don't know. It's like
And then we've got some like little measuring cups and stuff that have the handle on them, so I can like sit them inside a glaze bucket.
Yeah,
with the handle out, so it'll sit.
The dollar store is Betty Crocker. They carry Betty Crocker, and they have the handled ones that you can just set onto a glaze.
Yeah,
I
like those.
The measuring cups, and then what else?
I've got
rolling
some
pins.
like whisks there, but they're like plastic whisks.
Yeah.
I'd much rather just use the toilet brush.
Mm-hmm. They have rolling pins for $1, which are really pretty good. And if you ever do a bat system, using a knife to get the bats out is always good. I use a butter knife. I didn't get it from the dollar store, but they sell them at the dollar store. So, but
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything else. I mean, I use containers from the dollar store all the time.
Yeah, I've got some like glaze mixing containers. When I was testing out some glazes, I just got some small Tupperware containers that were all the same size when I was mixing, 500-gram batches of glaze or whatever. And they were pretty good. But yeah, lots of stuff to find at the dollar store.
Yay!
What about plastic buckets? Where have you got plastic buckets before?
Okay, so I'm kind of a cheater. So
You're a cheater.
Well,
Did you got them from Sherwin-Williams because
yeah,
you
I
worked
used
there,
to
right?
work at Sherwin-Williams for years, and so
Stealing them out the back.
No, they give them to me. And I mean, more often than not, if you develop a relationship with anybody in the paint store, they'll just give you a bucket. But yeah, I use 5-gallon buckets from the from Sherwin-Williams. They just give them to me. Otherwise, they're like $5. But any restaurant, deli, pizza place,
Bakery.
anything like that, they're always going to have those square buckets or round buckets. I use my friend's sauerkraut round buckets. Those are 5 gallons. The mayonnaise buckets are 3 gallons. The
I just got a pickle bucket that was 5 gallons.
pickle buckets 5 gallons. Or my friend gave me artichoke jars. Those are all glass jars, and I use them for glaze materials. Olive containers, if you've got any place that does charcuterie. Olives, they have 1-gallon buckets. Like, you can get so many gallon, like 3 to 5 to 1-gallon buckets from restaurants, and they don't want them. They throw them out the back and throw them away. So
Yeah, it might be a call them on the phone or go visit their shop and buy something and say, hey, I'm
or eat
local
there.
to you. Yeah. Don't try to just like email them or you know,
Yeah.
drop in and ask and leave. Like, kind of be appreciative if they do have some.
Yeah.
And hopefully you can get some lids from them too.
And you can offer to pay for them too. I wouldn't offer too much, but the likelihood of them saying, please just take them is high.
Yeah, there was a deli near me or bakery near me that I called, and she was like, call back on Friday when this person's here because he collects all the buckets and then he does whatever with them, and he's here that can handle that. So I called him, and then he was like, yeah, just stop by. I'll show you what I got, and we'll see. And I offered to pay and stuff, and it turned out his daughter was going to school where I went to school at, so we kind of chatted about art, and she's studying art, so he just gave them to me.
Yep.
Pretty sweet. I got like 50 buckets, a bunch of 1-gallon buckets or 1.5 gallon, and then some 4-gallon buckets maybe with lids. So I got a good batch of them.
Oh, pitchers from the dollar store. I forgot. Pitchers from the dollar store are really great too.
Yeah. Like 2-quart pitchers.
Yeah, like the tall ones. Those are really cool. Those are
Yeah.
really nice. Especially if you need it, like if you don't have very much glaze and you need to glaze something tall.
I like to use that for pulling handles. I put my water in that and like dip my handles in that.
I think honestly, a pitcher would be ideal for any type of water bucket because you really don't need a wide water bucket. You just need a lot of water. So if you do tall, then all your clay can sink down to the bottom.
Mm-hmm. And comparatively for the buckets, if you buy them at Lowe's or Home Depot or Sherwin-Williams or whatever, they're like you're going to spend like $4 or $5 with a lid.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you can get a bunch for free or cheap or whatever, and if you get a lot, like I just shared 5 or 6 of them with people around me. I got way too many, so it's like, hey, when somebody needs some buckets, here's 5 or 6 buckets.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, an extension of the buckets.
Extension.
The next one on the list is cat litter containers. I use these so much. I don't know if you do. You probably don't have those. I don't see them in your studio a lot. But
here's the thing. I like really was on the cat the cat litter container like train. I was on it. I was ready to go. And the problem that I have is that the cat litter is terrible. So
the kind that's in there that you don't like it?
Yeah, no, it doesn't clump for shit, and then it just smells really bad. And I have 3 cats.
I had 2 cats. You would have to clean it out pretty frequently, depending on where you're, depending on where it's located, I guess.
So I have 3 litter boxes. Okay, 3, and the cat. I tried. I did 2, like maybe 4 months of solid of that litter, and I just can't do it. I can't do it. I like the idea of the closing lids. However, they do close a little too easily, and
They close too easily? What does that mean?
You get your hands stuck in there. Like, they don't stay open.
What? Just don't overfill them and you can shut them.
No. I mean, shutting them's fine. I'm saying, like, Sometimes
Oh,
I
you're
like
talking
to
about
leave
when you
open.
open it, it doesn't stay open.
Yeah, it doesn't stay open.
I just keep a little like extra ceramic pot there
Yeah.
that I just sit on top of the lid so it stays open.
Yeah, so I like the idea, but instead now I have a bunch of cardboard boxes that I have no idea what to do. I seriously had 40 cardboard like cat litter boxes in my shop last week.
Oh.
But
So I use them for wet clay. I probably have at any time 4 to 5 of these. The buckets I have are basically 5-gallon buckets that are square. They hold 35 pounds of cat litter. And I have probably 4 to 5 filled with wet clay
are
at
they
any given
5
time.
gallons or are they 3 or 4?
The ones that I have are like 5 gallons.
Are you sure?
Yes. I haven't measured, but if I'm holding them next to a 5-gallon bucket, they're the
pretty
same height
similar.
as a 5-gallon bucket.
Okay. I
So
know.
I have the
I just
clay
use
in
a
there.
regular 5-gallon bucket for my wet clay and a refrigerator.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't. If I need buckets, I'll use the round ones for like glazes and stuff. Because if you use the cat litter buckets for glaze, it settles down in the little crevices. So I like them for clay because I can open and close them, and then they're perfect for raw materials. Do you use them for raw materials and stuff?
I should, but no. Well, I use trash cans for my raw materials.
Oh, okay.
I
But
have.
yeah, the open close is nice, and then you can fit quite a bit in there.
That's a great idea for raw materials. I use trash cans. Well, I always buy them in 50-pound bags anyway, so they wouldn't fit. But
Yeah, you could probably fit
it's like
half of it in there.
Yeah. So I use big, tall, like thin trash cans that have a swingy lid.
So they're never actually closed?
No.
Oh, okay. Cut down on the dust, Becca. Come on.
I mean, they're kind of closed.
As long as you're not agitating them, I guess.
I don't add. They just sit.
Yeah. But in my studio now, I probably have like 25 of those buckets.
Oh, hey, I was going to say also for clay storage, I've done this for a very long time, I use a refrigerator. So if you don't want to have 5 billion cat buckets, refrigerators, when they are not turned on, still hold all of your air in because they have seals. So I have an old pizza fridge that I got from my friend from the pizza store, and it's like a square. And we put all of the pugged clay in there, but you could put any clay in there. And
Is it like a mini fridge size?
Kind of. It's a little bit bigger. A chest fridge is perfect, actually, though. So chest fridges are really good.
I was thinking about using an old wine cooler that my parents had that didn't work. So that's kind of the same idea.
Yeah, no,
you can't fit as much in there, but it's a good option.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. And what else? When I don't live in Wisconsin, so it's not like it gets like negative degrees here, but in the winter, I always put clay inside of I had a fridge on the driveway, and I would always put clay in the fridge so that if it did get below freezing, it wouldn't freeze inside because the air blocked it out. So interesting. I mean, like, it doesn't work if
you're talking about like boxes of clay you would put in there?
Yeah, it doesn't work if it's like negative, 20 degrees. But if you're just hitting like right around freezing, it's fine. So
nice.
Same with heat too. You can put it in the heat and it's fine. Stays a pretty even temperature.
Sweet.
Yeah.
We can probably skip over this one. This one will be quick. If you see, like, at the holidays, sometimes I'll see, like, damaged bins when they're selling them and close out and getting rid of plastic bins and stuff. You might see some damaged ones for cheap. I've got a couple of those that you could use for a damp box or finished work or putting some storage in or whatever in your studio.
Yeah.
Get those boxes for, like, $2 or something.
Why not?
This will be good. I know you don't. Your packing system is a little bit better now, so you probably don't reuse packing material as much with your shipping.
I do use the only packing material that I reuse is the paper that we get from Bisque Imports because it's so much. But we throw.
Do they wrap every piece in paper? Is that what it is?
They put paper in every single box, and then they wrap every piece in plastic and bubble wrap. But it's all tiny pieces of bubble wrap, and I mean, I have reused it, but at the same time, it's like I don't need it, so.
Yeah. So the paper you're keeping is just extra padding you use in boxes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't like to pack with air, essentially. That's my main goal.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, so...
But always reuse peanuts, for the love of God. Always reuse peanuts and styrofoam.
Yeah, the peanuts and those foam paper that's like kind of dense.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's considered, but it's kind of foam like wrapping. I always like that to
and put a note in there that said you reuse things, or else people get pissed at you.
You can just mix it up and just have a variety of stuff. I don't know.
I
haven't had anybody say that to me, but I do reuse all of this kind of things even from other people that ship me stuff.
Yeah. This winter, I can't remember what I was shipping out. I think it must have been like pasta bowls or something. And I ran out of packing like everywhere. Like we were out of peanuts, we were out of everything. And so I just started pulling, because you have like the trash from all your labels, and it's just like paper trash. And I sent a box, and it had so much like of everything. It was like,
did somebody just send me a box of garbage? What is this?
Basically, and I can't remember who I sent it to, but it must have been somebody that I knew, because I don't think I would have done that normally. But it was just like packing label like paper and like pieces of styrofoam and pieces of cut cardboard and some egg cartons. Egg cartons are great for packing, by the way. If you are near anybody with children that doesn't have chickens, get your egg cartons from them.
Like styrofoam ones?
No, the paper ones. They always paper egg cartons.
I never see those. Like,
do they only use styrofoam? Like, we don't. I haven't seen a styrofoam egg carton in years.
That's what we have.
Well,
that's what we have over here on the East Coast.
Probably because you're
in Midwest.
Probably because you guys hate the environment.
The only paper ones I would see is if you bought like organic eggs.
Well, maybe all of our eggs are organic. But yeah, no. Well, even so, the styrofoam is fine, but they work great for filling space.
Yeah. So I my mom and my mother-in-law like gives me a bunch of packing peanuts all the time, so I try to use as much as I can. And then the one story I had was about bubble wrap. So
yes, I'm excited to hear this.
There's a woman local to me. She reached out on Facebook through our Clay Alliance page, which is a clay group that I'm a part of in the Cincinnati area. So she reached out and she said, "Hey, I work at this oncology place. We throw away so much bubble wrap. Do you all have a use for it?" So I like replied and said, "Yes, I would love to have this, whatever you have." And she lives like not far from me, so she delivers it about once a month or once every 6 weeks to my house and just drops them on my porch. And they're like 2 boxes that are the boxes that they come in are like 35-gallon trash can boxes, so they're like pretty big.
God.
It's like 2 foot by 3.5 foot or something like that tall, and it's all it's like big bubbles, and there's like bubble sleeves.
Yeah.
So if anybody's bought anything from me and you get stuff in the mail and you get stuff in a sleeve, that's from her. She gives me all this bubble wrap, and I still continually get it, and I don't have enough use for it. So usually what I'll do is I'll reach out to other clay people and be like, "Hey, I've got these 4 boxes of bubble wrap. Who wants them?" And I'll just say like, "Hey, come pick them up."
That's cool. Yeah, you know what's crazy is that where I learned to do pottery, they had a deal with, I don't know who it was. Like, they made camping mats or something, like the ones that blow up that that are, like that you sleep on.
Kind of like inflatable beds.
Yeah, but they were like the foamy ones, right? So they made those, and they made a deal with this company that makes those, and they get all their seconds, and they have so many camping mats, and they just use those to wrap all their pieces in.
That's pretty sweet.
I know. I was like, man, I need to get that kind of deal. But yeah, I would say probably anybody that packs or does like not shipping but importing, like any industrial park around you. If you went around there and was like, "Hey, do you get shipments in like that you need to get rid of bubble wrap?" I bet you could find somebody easy.
Yeah. The place that she works at is an oncology place, so they get a bunch of like, I guess, cancer drugs and medicines and stuff, and they're like packed really well.
Mm-hmm.
So these sleeves have been like the best. So I use these sleeves constantly.
That's awesome.
So that's about the main plastic I use, and I'm totally good with. I don't ship enough stuff to where I need additional things. So I mean, I ship out maybe one thing every couple weeks or 3 weeks or something like that. So
I think
it's not a ton.
Yeah. I think that for me, I found out that I guess I've learned over the past couple of years that I am one of those people that if you give me an inch of mess, like if you say, "Hey Becca, do you want to use newspaper instead of a roll of newsprint?" I'll be like, "Sure." And then I'll have a box of really messy newsprint and newspaper, and it'll drive me absolutely insane. And so for me, it's almost worth the money just to buy the roll.
Because it seems like clutter, and it's not.
It's super cluttery, and like I hate having boxes everywhere, and like it's just sometimes for me buying it new, buying a roll of corrugated cardboard, buying something that's not gonna be in my way is worth the money. So with shipping especially, I kind of keep to that rule, just because I could have so many weird things in that.
And your system, like it fits your system. It's not something that is not fitting your system, and you've got to kind of shoehorn it in to fit the way that you like to do things.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, weigh those options and figure out what's best for you. And I personally use the free boxes from USPS because I don't want to, because I use the packing stuff, and then that's what I use to ship with.
And I use Uline boxes because they are the right size and they're stronger.
Yeah.
And you can sometimes make them cheaper than USPS. So.
How are they cheaper? Because of the ship? Are you still using USPS to ship them?
Their medium box is like one size, but you know what? The
that's
7x7 by 4 that I could fit a mug in is in a medium box, and it's $8 to ship it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I don't have a problem with reusing packing materials. I just like for people, we just have systems that we.
Yeah, I'm sure people that ship out tons of stuff, it's kind of, I see people getting to that phase where they're like no waste or everything's recyclable and stuff. I mean, there's still going to be things floating out there that are not recyclable that you're just going to have to keep reusing.
Yeah. Which
I'm fine doing, but.
Yeah. And I mean, Andrew always uses those cornstarch peanuts, and I freaking hate those things. That's the only thing in the whole entire world that I'm like, I would rather use styrofoam. I'm like, God, because we live in Washington, that's why. Because cornstarch evaporates and it melts down when it hits water. And I don't know, have you ever had 15 cornstarch peanuts on your shoes? Because I have. No. When you walk from outside and it's raining and you come into your shop and you immediately step into 15,000 peanuts, and then they're all stuck to your shoe. It's so annoying, and they crunch too. They give too much, so you're using more of them because they like squish down easily. They're just so annoying. I will still use them, but they're so freaking annoying. I'd rather use paper.
You reuse them to get them out of your shop, right?
Yeah. Well, Andrew took all the peanuts out, so that's good.
Nice. All right, the last thing I had on here, unless Becca has some more, is I was using some drywall and stuff that was around. There was somebody local to me that was building, and sometimes when people are building, they'll be like, I've got all this drywall, because you can't use like a very small piece of drywall after you've already hung drywall. So like I use some boards like that I just tape off on the edges and use those for wear boards sometimes.
Yeah. Oh,
and they're pretty good because they absorb, or you can like, if you have a red clay that you don't want to wedge on the same table as your white clay, you can just use that board to wedge on.
I use drywall boards to dry all of my reclaim on.
Oh,
Works
really?
well. Yeah, works super
Which
well.
side do you put the stuff on? Do you put it on the brown paper side or the white side?
I don't know.
Because I have drywall
okay, I
on
lied.
my wedging table, but I have it white side up, and it degrades over time. I feel like maybe I need to change my
This
my
might have been
wedging table
cement board,
but
actually. I lied. Not drywall. It was
it's
hardy.
probably hardy
It
backer
was, yeah,
board.
it's just really thick hardy. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, also, Rebecca Graves, she has wear boards that are like not even 4 feet long. They're like 2 feet long, 4 inches wide, and they're like old cutoffs from the lumberyard, and that she found like they just sell them for super freaking cheap. So that's also an option too.
That's pretty sweet.
And they're short.
That's like a
which is
perfect
kinda
size.
nice, yeah.
You said it's like 2 foot?
Yeah, like 2 to 3 foot. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And they're like 6 inches.
Yeah, those are good size.
Yeah.
Oh, those are the boards that we were working on. I thought they were like 2x4s, kind of.
They kind of are. Like they're like 1x4s.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're like 1x6s, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Any last words for cheap ideas for people to think about?
I think that it's important for people to know what's going to be cheap and what's not going to be cheap in the end. If you have an unlimited amount of time, like you're quarantined right now, then by all means, make all the things. But there's so many times that I have started projects and then gotten done with them. Oh, like how I made a gauge, a throwing gauge, out of like 2 different, like a C-clamp and like a, I don't even know, it was this weird thing from the...
Throwing gauge. What's that for?
Like, you put it on your wheel and then you throw a bolt and then you set the gauge and so you can throw it to the same point every time.
Okay.
And I made this thing like years ago and it works kind of terribly okay. And it
kind
was
of
probably,
terribly okay.
if I would have just bought one for $50, I probably would have saved like 3 hours and the money I would have spent on it. You know, like I would have saved... It would have cost me the same amount of money to buy it from the pottery store than it would to make it with the time that I spent. So, if you have all the time in the world, by all means, make your things. If you don't have time, and it can actually be cheaper to buy it.
Yeah.
I hate to say that. I really
big.
love making things. Like, I love DIY. But it really can be cheaper just to buy it. So make sure that you are like looking at all of the options so that you know.
Yeah, I did one thing that I think you still have the materials for it, but I made that DIY glaze fountain.
I still do have the materials for it.
And I made it and I've used it like twice because I worry about the cleaning part. I'm like, I can just clean out a little bucket that I like pour glaze in and out and like clean that quicker than clean this whole glaze pump and putting it in and out of buckets. And
it's not that hard to clean out, actually.
well, I'm thinking like, and then like sticking it on the bottom of the bucket, the little suction cup, one of the suction cups always stays on the bottom, so you're like, well, I gotta dig in here and get this.
Just take the suction cups off, Ryan.
Well, then it doesn't stay straight.
Well, did you do a big metal bowl with a hole cut in the bottom?
Yeah. And that hole in the bottom is so sharp. I need to like grind it or something if I use it.
Put tape on it. Tape around it.
Ooh, that's not a bad idea.
Smart. We should have talked about the glaze fountain.
Well, it's good. People can look it up on Mitchell, Spain, or Forest Ceramico, or I'm sure there's other people out there that have made them.
Yep.
It's basically a water pump for, what is it for? Water? It's a pump for like
for a fountain.
For fountains and like ponds and stuff like that.
I just keep thinking about how I used one when I went to Gravesco this last like 2 weeks ago, and I don't think that I'm cut out for a glaze fountain, because you like push the pedal down, like it's a foot pedal, so you push the foot pedal and that makes it go, and then it shoots out, and it can shoot out like 4 feet. And
Depending on what setting you have it at
depending
and
on
how
what
strong
setting
your
and
pump
what-
is.
Yeah, how strong you got your glaze pump. And there was like 4 pieces that I like did the glaze pump and I forgot to put the piece over it. and I was like,
It's just raining glaze in the studio.
yeah, it starts like spraying glaze and like my brain was like, oh, look, glaze. and like, I don't know why, but my brain didn't think, take your foot off the pedal. Like, move the piece onto it. Like, it didn't like have there was nothing in my reflexes were so terrible that it happened 3 to 4 times each time.
Jeez.
And I was like, God, I'm just not cut out for this. But
Yes. So it's essentially the pump. It's got a piece of PVC on it, a coupler that screws in, and then the glaze will shoot out of the PVC. Ideally go into your piece if you have it over top of it.
They
and
sell
then
them.
back.
You can buy them. These are the ones that I would definitely recommend making instead of buying. You can buy them for like $400.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. And the reason you have the pedal is you plug the fountain into the pedal female, and then you plug the male end of the pedal into the wall. The pedal is essentially just connecting a circuit. So if you just plug the pump into the wall, it's just going to pump continuously and it's not going to stop. The pedal just allows you to connect that circuit and turn it on and then take your foot off and turn it off.
If
so
you
you
do it
don't
in
have
the
it
right time.
continuously flowing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the idea of the fountain. And you could probably spend, I don't know, $50 on the whole thing. Maybe
Yeah, I
maybe
think
a little
I spent
more.
like 35.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
not a bad option. If you're glazing, I would recommend it if you're glazing with very few glazes, or maybe like one glaze that you use as a liner all the time.
Yeah.
It's a good option for that. Or you're glazing a lot of production.
It makes me kind of want to do a liner glaze.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know
I
what
feel like-
color I'd do though.
Yeah.
Because it would.
Or if you're doing
color
like
prep
clear or
too.
something, like that would be good. If
Yeah.
you're, I don't know how. Yeah, you with your bisque stuff, you just dunk it with tongs. I'm guessing so.
Yeah.
You don't really need a fountain for any of that.
No. But it would make it a little bit faster if we could just do it that way. I don't know. Anyway, we should probably go because it's been like an hour.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Forgot.
Thanks so much for listening to another episode of Wheel Talk. If you'd like to follow us on Instagram, you could find the podcast at wheeltalkpodcast, or you could find myself at RD Ceramics. That's R's in Ryan, D's in Durban, Ceramics.
Or you can find me at 5 Lines Pottery Studio. That's the number 5. And don't forget, share this with your friends, like us on Instagram, and don't forget to write a review. It helps us an awful lot. Thanks.